building, and I'm extremely bullish on tourism for the future.
Well, that sounds very encouraging. Wiley, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Coming up, how to stay safe in the sun when Health and Home Report continues.
Dad, does your back still hurt?
It's a little stiff. I'd better see our family doctor.
Don't wait for a medical emergency to find a family doctor. For a free listing of referral sources for osteopathic primary care physicians in your area, call 1-800-621-1773, extension 5854. A message from the American Osteopathic Association, physicians who care about your family's well-being.
When there is an urgent need anywhere in the world, AmeriCare's crisis teams fly into action and hours later fly to the scene. AmeriCare's has helped millions, yet many more millions remain helpless. When disaster or famine bring homelessness and hunger, within hours, AmeriCare's brings relief. AmeriCare's, the first to bring help, the first to bring hope. Call 1-800-486-HELP.
Welcome back to the second half of our show. The month of June, named for the Roman goddess of marriage, has traditionally been a popular time for weddings. And while tradition still has its place, you might be surprised at how some of today's couples are celebrating the big event. Carrie Matthews has more.
According to government statistics, more than 2.4 million couples were married in the United States last year. But for many of these couples, the most traditional weddings are taking on stylish twists. Consider the wedding dress. A classic white gown with elegant veil and dramatic train is always a correct choice. But for a small but growing number of brides, a wedding dress is an unequaled expression of personal style and independence. Brides are floating down the aisle in high fashion, unconventional designs from Ungaro to Christian Lacroix. According to a nationwide survey conducted recently by Martini and Rossi Asti, the three most memorable wedding moments are still the traditional ones: the first dance, the toast, and the cutting of the cake. For the first dance, some couples choose a traditional slow dance, but a growing number of young marrieds are claiming everything from swing to tango as their dance. For the toast, champagne has given way to the livelier taste of sparkling wines for more and more couples.
1 out of 5 people cited the wedding toast as a memorable moment. Toasts have become more personal and less formal, with added emphasis on speaking from the heart. The third most memorable moment cited in the Martini and Rossi Asti survey is the cake cutting. But even here, the traditional is taking on new style, as the classically tiered wedding cake of days past gives way to individualized expressions of a couple's love, some more individual than others.
Sylvia Weinstock has designed cakes for celebrities like Barbara Walters, Ella Fitzgerald, Kevin Kline, and Phoebe Cates.
Today's bride accepts tradition, and in the framework of tradition, she puts her own personal sense of style. She chooses her cake. What does it look like? What does it taste like? She chooses her sparkling wine for the toast. What will complement the cake? She chooses the flowers. And around that, it is a marriage not only of a young man and a young woman, but of all the parts that make this festival work.
The bottom line on stylish weddings as we approach the 21st century? More and more couples are balancing tradition with personal style to create their own memorable moments. This is Carrie Matthews reporting.
Honeymooners and others who are planning on fun in the sun should pay attention to our next report. Lee Leonard has some important advice on how to enjoy the great outdoors and play it safe at the same time.
It's no secret that we need to take precautions to protect skin from the sun. The best defense, the right clothing and sunscreens. But sometimes knowing how to use a sunscreen is just as important as using one, like when to put it on.
When I go out to the sun, once I'm on the beach.
The correct answer, however, may be surprising.
A sunscreen should be applied every morning before you venture out into the sun, preferably 15 minutes to a half hour before, to allow the sunscreen to bind with the skin to be more effective on relatively dry skin. So that often means in an air-conditioned room.
Also important, how much sunscreen to use.
A proper amount to cover an entire area of the skin would be a glob about this size that fills the palm of the hand, or approximately 1 ounce of material.
In addition to putting on sunscreens at the right time and using the right amount, people should be aware of the need to reapply a sunscreen after swimming or a vigorous activity. To avoid putting it too close to the eyes, try applying it as if you were wearing sunglasses. And don't forget hard-to-reach areas like the back, neck, and ears. And remember to use a proper sun protection factor.
There are many different brands of sunscreens. To simplify the process of choosing them, my recommendations would be to look for a sunscreen that has a high sun protection factor in the range of a minimum of 15. However, my personal recommendations are for sunscreens, for example, with like Pre-Sun 29, one that is PABA-free, and I look for something that I can swim and play tennis and so forth and work up a sweat and not have to be so concerned that I'm losing the protection that I've applied in the morning.
So understanding the how-tos of using sunscreen can help maximize both your protection and enjoyment in the sun. From Miami, Florida, this is Lee Leonard.
Play Peter Piper and pick a peck of pickles for International Pickle Week, to be held May 25th to June 3rd. Popular since the days of Christopher Columbus, the low-cal pickled cucumber has evolved into a zesty snack and recipe ingredient that is available in more than 36 varieties.
A good relationship between secretary and employer is important to the success of any office. Yet a recent survey shows that these two groups don't always see eye to eye. John Champney explains.
Secretaries look for professional recognition in terms of bonuses, raises, or company-provided training, but most employees have a different idea. According to the national survey sponsored jointly by Minolta Business Equipment Division and Professional Secretaries International, florists and restaurants, not secretaries, benefit the most on Professional Secretaries Day.
For years, there has been a sharp contrast between what employers give secretaries and what secretaries really want.
The research firm BIS Strategic Decisions surveyed more than 2,000 secretaries and their managers. 59% of the secretaries said florists get the most out of Professional Secretaries Day. By contrast, 54% of the managers thought their secretaries benefited. Tom Elliott, who headed the survey team, explains.
We found that managers and their secretaries agree on some things, like the beneficial impact of office automation, but they disagree sharply on other questions.
What secretaries want is very different from what employers give during Professional Secretaries Week. Bonuses and raises are at the top of the secretaries list, mentioned by 72%, but only 2% of the employers give a raise or a bonus. Only 6% want a free lunch, but that's what most get.
The survey showed more than 2/3 of the secretaries want professional recognition. Bonuses, salary increases, training, even a letter of appreciation would really better recognize contributions which secretaries make.
The survey also showed secretaries and managers agree about the need for computer training, and that filing is the job that secretaries dislike the most.
During the high-flying 80s, economic growth drove some to extravagant displays of wealth. What's happening with consumer attitudes on spending in the 90s? Carol Ann Kell has some answers.
It seems to be official. The freewheeling, free-spending decade of the 80s is over, replaced now by a full-blown consumer revolution. The new watchword of the 90s is value pricing, with retailers ranging from McDonald's to General Motors scrambling to deliver higher quality at a lower price.
The consumers had 8-9 years of uninterrupted growth in the economy, and then all of a sudden, reality hits in. You've got to spend, but you're not going to spend quite as ecstatically as you did before. You're going to be a lot more careful.
Now consumers are discovering a concept that seems tailor-made for the 90s. Designer outlet centers like this one, with names like Liz Claiborne, Nike, J. Crew, Bass Shoes, Carol Little, and others, all selling at prices averaging 40% off the normal retail price, and sometimes as much as 70% less. Cheryl MacArthur is the president of the MacArthur Glen Group, which owns 10 such designer outlet centers near major metropolitan areas around the country.
Smart shoppers always want to save money, and they want quality merchandise. They will not trade down for clothing without labels. They're spoiled. They want label merchandise that is going to last, not fall apart when they put it into the washer or dryer. You can shop any day of the year, 365 days a year, for an entire outfit, and it will cost you approximately 40% off the normal retail price.
To fight back, many traditional retailers in malls or downtown locations are offering deep discounts or outlet stores of their own. But so far, special designer outlet centers like this one are doing a good job of winning both the hearts and pocketbooks of consumers. This is Carol Ann Kell reporting.
Did you know the first U.S. president to ride in an automobile was William McKinley? Unfortunately for our 25th president, this journey was in a hearse following his assassination in 1901. His successor, Teddy Roosevelt, was the first living president to ride in a car.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimates that half of the nation's landfills will be closed by 1995. Alan Faust has a report on how recycling grass clippings and leaves can help ease the nation's landfill crisis.
The average American produces about 3.5 pounds of garbage a day. That's more than 160 million tons a year. About 75% ends up in landfills. Americans have an estimated 50,000 square miles of lawn under cultivation, generating more than 31 million tons of grass clippings, leaves, and other debris a year.
At least 20% of the solid waste in landfills is lawn debris. But homeowners can help alleviate the landfill crisis by recycling. For example, by distributing grass clippings across the lawn, you can reduce the amount of debris and at the same time return nutrients to the soil. A season's worth of grass clippings is equal to one application of a commercial fertilizer.
A new breed of lawnmower has been designed with recycling in mind, with a side discharge chute, a mulching kit, and a rear-mounted collection system. In spring, grass grows quickly and needs frequent mowing, but spring rains often make it impossible to follow the 1/3 rule recommended by turf experts. That is, mowing often enough to cut only 1/3 of the grass blade.
But you can use a mower equipped with a mulching blade and a plug. The plug closes off the mowing chamber, thus keeping the grass clippings inside the mower deck long enough to be chopped into tiny pieces. The mulching blade forces the tiny clippings into the lawn. And because they're tiny, they decompose quickly, returning nitrogen to the soil. Nitrogen is a key ingredient of fertilizer. In summer, when lawn growth slows down, the plug can be removed and a side discharge chute attached. The short clippings can be distributed on the lawn. In the fall, install a rear-mounted collection system to gather chopped leaves.
By returning grass clippings to the soil, using chopped leaves in a compost pile or as a mulch, recycling becomes a natural part of lawn care. This is Alan Faust reporting.
Before we close, here's some important information on 2 missing children.
Have you seen either of these children? Christopher Milton Dansby, now 4, has been missing from his home in New York City, New York, since May 18, 1989. The child was last seen playing in a park near his house. Bradley Patrick Cannon, now 13, has been missing from Savannah, Georgia, since May 28, 1989. He was last seen on a street corner a block and a half from his home. If you have any information concerning these children, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Arlington, Virginia. Call toll-free 1-800-843-5678. A special TDD number for the hearing impaired is 1-800-826-7653. Locally in Arlington, dial 235-3900. This is a public service of Health and Home Report.
We hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you have any comments about a story you've seen today or about our show in general, we'd love to hear from you. Write to Health and Home Report, 1430 Broadway, 9th floor, New York, New York, 10018. That's all for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Health and Home Report.